Hi YouTube, this is a video about how to clean your cloth menstrual pads. So I'm just going to show you how to clean one pad at a time, or you could do a couple pads at a time. So basically what I do is I take my stain remover. I make this through a process of using a Bunch of Farmer stain stick remover. Absolutely love it. I can show you in another video how to make that if y'all would like. So basically what I do is, this is a clean cloth pad, so pretend like it's dirty with a whole bunch of blood on it. I just want to show you to you because it's a lighter cloth pad. So basically what I do is I take my spray and I spray it on wherever the stain is. You know, so let's say it's right in the middle there. Oh, spray, spray. And then I take my pad and sometimes I could just let it sit there for a minute if I have the time to let it sit there for a minute, so we can soak in the stain stick remover as much as possible, especially the pads that I use for overnight. Obviously the blood has been sitting there for several hours because I had worn it overnight. So I just always want to make sure that it is doing what it needs to get done. If I don't if I don't leave it, I'll just go ahead and make my solution right away. And how I do that is I take this bowl here. I had a ton of these bowls, and so I just decided to designate one of them for my cloth cleaning pad bowls. I just take some baking soda. That's what's in this spoon here. Just a couple of tablespoons of baking soda. I'll coat the bottom of this just to get it all evened out, and then I will put some water in there. I fill it about halfway. Make sure the water's cold. If it's hot, it will set the stain, and then it'll be much harder to get the stains out of your cloth pads, and it won't be cleaning your cloth pads as well. So I just mixed in the baking soda, made sure it was nice and mixed in, and then I take my hydrogen peroxide. Here's hydrogen peroxide. I get this at the dollar store just because it's $1. You can also get it at your local drugstores. I think Walmart has it, Target. I also just poke a hole in the top of it like that. That way I don't dump so much out, and I can kind of measure how much I'm putting in. So I put a couple tablespoons in there. Not a lot. What hydrogen peroxide and baking soda does is it acts as a cleaner. So similar to bleach, but a little bit more natural. It cleans away any stains, soils, through oxygen. So I just take my cloth pad and then I'll put it face down. That way when it is sitting, it is just really cleaning out the stain. I will just kind of move it around in there. That way I know that the stain is, or the whole pad is getting soiled with this. If I have multiple pads, I'll just add a little bit more water, a little bit more baking soda, a little bit more hydrogen peroxide, and then I'll let them sit. So I'll just take my bowl here, and I sit it right next to my toilet, right next to my shower. That way it's out of the way of my family, it's out of the way of anybody that might be coming over. It's just kind of a good spot for me. So it's just right next to my toilet in the shower here. So I try to let it sit for at least an hour, depending on how bad the stain is. If it's a pretty bad stain, then I will let it sit there overnight to get all of the stain out. After I've let it sit, I just pick up my cloth pad. The stain is usually completely disappeared. I'll rinse out the hydrogen peroxide, baking soda, and Farmer Stain Stick Remover, even though it's all natural. I just like to get it all rinsed out of my cloth pad as best as I can. And then I will put it to dry. So a few tips about drying is when you have any material, you don't want to, you want to squeeze the material, you don't want to twist the material. You don't want to twist the material because it breaks down the fibers, and then that's when you get the breaking down of the clothes and everything. So I just fold mine in half, and then I'll roll my cloth pad, and then I'll just squeeze it to get the water out. So after I've done that, I will open up my cloth pad, put it on a towel, and then I'll just fold it up in the towel and do the same thing. I'll roll it to get any excess water. It will go onto the towel, and it dries more quickly this way. So I know you probably can't see that, but the towel is pretty damp now too. So after that, I hang it up to dry. So a few more tips about drying is if you hang it up outside, the sun will act as a bleaching agent. So if you did have a few more stains in there that maybe you just couldn't see, it'll take those away. It'll take away any bacteria left over, which hopefully that was taken away by the hydrogen peroxide and baking soda. Also, when you hang it, when you want to dry, you want to hang it up. You don't want to just leave it laying out somewhere if you can help it, because then the water will run down the pad and then dry more quickly like that instead of it just sitting in there. So we live in a very humid, tropical area. So I've never had this happen before, but I'm always afraid of mold with water sitting places, and I've had different experiences with mold getting on my gelatin more quickly than I had in other parts of the country I've lived in. So those are just a few tips from someone who lives in a tropical area. So I hope you liked this YouTube video. I hope it helped you a lot with your cloth pad cleaning. I do know several people who clean their cloth pads a bunch at a time. All they do is they take all their cloth pads and then they'll put it in a bucket or some kind of a container like this. And they do the same process that I do. Some of them don't even use the spray to clean it. They just put the bunch of Farmer's Stain Stick Remover right in there with the cleaning solution. They let all their cloth pads sit for overnight. They dump out the water and then fill it back up the next day and let it sit there for 24 hours again, and then they just wash them in the laundry machine. And it takes away all of their stains, and it works really great for them. So if you have a bunch of cloth pads, that might work really great for you. I have tried that before, and it did work really great for me. It's just that I don't have that many, so I have to individually clean mine, and the process is fairly quick and fairly effortless. So hope you enjoyed this video. Please click to subscribe if you did and want to see future videos, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them to the best of my ability. Thanks, YouTube.